to the edge of the universe and back, endure, and survive. Endure, survive. Endure, survive. Fuck yeah, man!
In 2023, HBO released its first TV series based on the video game The Last of Us. It seems like we've seen this kind of plot 100 times before. Zombie apocalypse, survivors fighting the undead and trying to find a cure for an unknown infection. According to the plot, smuggler Joel and 14-year-old Ellie go on a long journey across the post-apocalyptic United States, along the way destroying those who have already been affected by the cordyceps fungus. Fans of the game managed to accuse the creators of the series in an unsuccessful choice of actors. Especially a lot of complaints caused Bella Ramsey, who performed the role of Ellie. Other viewers reproached the series in the hackneyed Train to Busan, 28 days later, I am legend. It seemed that the zombie horror genre had already said it all, but in The Last of Us, we see a different approach to the subject. What philosophical ideas are hidden in the plot of the series? How does it talk about the relationship between power and society? And are we in for a zombie apocalypse? The screenwriters admit they wanted to tell not about zombies, but about people who have to make difficult choices in the midst of an epidemic. Although it was not without stereotypical images from mass culture. The image of zombies has existed in culture almost since its beginning. Already in the Epic of Gilgamesh, there is a description of the Sumerian zombie apocalypse. The goddess Ishtar destroys the gates of the underworld, and the dead come out into the world of the living. But the modern understanding of zombies comes to us from Haitian and African cults. Haitian tribes believed that with the help of voodoo magic, you can completely subdue the will of a person. He turns into the living dead. He walks, breathes, but completely obeys the sorcerer's orders. During the occupation of Haiti in the early 20th century, Americans became familiar with local folklore and then began to use these images in mass culture. So who is a zombie? It is someone who has lost control over his own sanity and thus has lost subjectivity. For the first time, the concept of subject is formulated in New Age philosophy by René Descartes. He believed that the subject is the one who thinks. Consequently, he who does not think loses his human self. He is no longer a human being in the full sense of the word, even if he continues to move and eat, because he does not have the main thing, thinking. In the series, the transformation into a zombie begins with infection with cordyceps spores. This is a real-life fungus that parasitizes wood ants. In The Last of Us, it affects the central nervous system and body tissues. An infected person experiences what sociologist Irving Hoffman called loss of self, a shift from human to non-human on all levels. Social, values, biological. He loses his individuality. In this way, zombies are radically different from the other screen undead, vampires. Vampires retain their personality and more or less human appearance. Zombies gradually lose everything human. This process of dehumanization is the focus of The Last of Us. The creators of the series explore how in the conditions of the epidemic changes not only man, but also society. And here the zombie is a metaphor. Modern Italian philosopher Giorgio Agamben divides life into naked and socially approved. If a creature breathes, moves, and eats, it is naked life. And socially approved begins when the creature follows social norms, shares values, observes traditions. Those who live only a naked life are not considered equal to a human being, which means they can be killed without consequence. That is why zombies do not arouse our sympathy. They destroy the social order. This is the naked life from which mankind for centuries tried to ward off with culture, medicine, technology. In The Last of Us, man once again has to face it head-on. The series reflects another modern fear, one that was vividly revealed during the COVID-19 pandemic, the fear of interference with the body, whether it's through chips or the spores of rare mushrooms. And this doesn't just apply to conspiracy theorists. French philosopher Michel Foucault, back in the 20th century, proposed the concept of biopolitics, managing people through healthcare. The state begins to consider the population not as a society, but as a biological mass. The volume of the population, average life expectancy, the level of morbidity. We see this in The Last of Us, how power is transformed under the pressure of the epidemic. In his famous book, To Supervise and Punish, Michel Foucault hypothesizes that it was the great epidemics of the Middle Ages and the modern age that shaped the society we live in. Social institutions were forced to adapt to the new realities by introducing discipline and control. As Foucault put it, the plague is met with order. The series is a military dictatorship regime run by the FEDRA organization. Their job is to keep order in the quarantine zones. They do it as if they've read Foucault. Scheduled distribution of duties, labor discipline, to clear a street, to repair a building. After all, people have to be occupied with something. Foucault saw work as one of the best ways to bring order. When people are busy, they are less likely to break the rules. In the first episodes, it seems that the characters are locked in a quarantine zone, as if in a prison. The more dangerous the disease, the less space there is for freedom. This is the special political regime that Foucault called the regime of the reigning disease, when the epidemic determines all spheres of life: politics, economics, art. An example: the pandemic of COVID, Zoom parties, lockdowns, social distance, all of this became a reality in 2020, and many of the norms that emerged then have stayed with us forever. But not everyone is ready to comply. The Cicada Group is fighting the tyranny of FEDRA and demanding the abolition of the military dictatorship. Their struggle seems doomed. What can a rebel cell do against the state machine? But it is the cicadas who do not give up trying to find a vaccine. They realize that it is impossible to defeat the government until the reigning disease is defeated. Of course, The Last of Us is in a way a typical heroic story. Perhaps the showrunners prepared unexpected twists and turns, but in general the plot of the series almost completely repeats the game and is based on classic archetypes. For example, there is the archetype of the way or forced displacement, as Mikhail Bakhtin called it. The heroes leave the familiar world to get something valuable and save everyone. There is also the motif of the chosen one. Ellie is immune to the fungus, and her immunity could be the key to creating a vaccine. But the authors don't emphasize that. Much more attention is paid to the feelings and inner feelings of the characters. In this, the series even surpasses the game. The Last of Us definitely cannot be called another series about zombies. It is a story about man and humanity, about power and resistance, about freedom and individuality.